Hey, so I'm going to walk through our summer update, as I'm calling it, since we forgot to do June or we got too busy, and do June and July right now. All right, let me. Okay. So in June, we kicked off the month with the Clean Power Conference in Houston with American Clean Power. It was really great. I really appreciate Ken Young, one of our advisory board members, West Point grad, CEO of Apex Clean Power, and incoming board chair for ACP. Really spotlighting Project Vanguard during his opening statements, during the General Assembly, and then bringing basically the entire board of directors from ACP out to our Vets Happy Hour the next night. So it was really great exposure. I don't have a picture from that night because we were chatting up with all the board members and all these different things and talking about opportunities, veteran workforce development. So that is a ding on me, but we had a really great conference. It was great to see everybody out there if I saw you. Um, we also did our first North Carolina Legislative Day, led by one of our state chapter leads and community leaders, Greg Gebhardt with Cypress Creek Energy. So that was a fantastic thing, and thanks to one of our other folks, Ronald, for driving up from Florida to his home state to come work with Greg on that. Uh, and Ronald Souls owns a veg maintenance company for energy projects, mostly on Duke, but some more stuff coming up. So another great member to connect with if you're in the market for some veg maintenance support at any of your sites. Was able to go to the second annual RWE Veterans Summit. We've got some clips floating around online, some interviews I did with some of the folks there, like Larry Perry, who's been on the podcast. And we also launched our Iowa Advisory Board. So as we're spinning up these new states, we want to have advisory boards of key, state leaders from the military side, community, the workforce, development community. We want folks from the advocacy and energy community. And so we kind of pull all that together to bring those folks together. It was really great to get in there. I know some people were like, I looked at your website. It looks like all you do is renewable stuff. I'm like, well, we're in all the above. And then we talked about it. And that's going to look like a different thing in every state. And so I'm excited that we're able to pull that together. And then also, we had this transition. So if you haven't noticed, we're breaking up the website. There's the .com, projectvanguard.com, projectvanguard.org, and projectvanguard.us now. So the .com is our legacy LLC. We originally were founded because we wanted industry to support veterans in the industry, through workforce and showing up and speaking up and sharing our stories. That's still what we want to do. However, for funding and then just keeping things on glide path, it's better to put that inside of a C3, a 501c3 nonprofit structure. And so we've done that. Thanks to Jack Cuerva and Steve Bravo for stepping up to be our inaugural board members. But we'll keep the LLC. You'll still see all the comms, the CRM, all the back end stuff that has to get done will be done there, as well as our projects and community engagement stuff. So basically, the LLC is going to focus and function as a communications consultancy. The foundation will be a traditional 501c3 focused on workforce development initiatives, education, community building, all the networking stuff, policy and policymaker education, just really focusing on that feel good stuff there. The C4, Project Vanguard Action Fund, so it's just Project Vanguard USA LLC, Project Vanguard Foundation, which is the C3, and then Project Vanguard Action Fund, which will be the C4. That's where we'll do direct energy policy advocacy, but no election activities. We're not getting mixed up in any of that. So that's kind of how we're going to be breaking things out, and you'll see a shift in how we communicate across those three lines going forward. And again, that's projectvanguard.com, projectvanguard.org, and projectvanguard.us. Okay, and then July. So why we didn't do a big update, I should have done one from my hotel room, but I was on the road. First week, took the kids to the beach, stayed there for most of a week, and then was on the road for a week with CSU, Colorado State University, with their Energy Legislative Academy. And it was just a really great week to meet a lot more state representatives and senators, as we find that's really where a lot of our messaging hits and is useful and impactful. It's good to meet folks like that. And I was able to teach a national security course as part of that. And I'll take any excuse to get back to Colorado. So anybody watching this that would like to find an excuse to get me to do anything, just know that if Colorado's in it, I'm in. That's where I was stationed. I love that state. The next week, we went out to the American Legislative Exchange Council, ALEC. We just joined, thanks to some new funding from a partner, and we were philanthropic, and so we were able to, again, spend more time. One of the New Mexico state senators that I was able to hang out with in Colorado, got to hang out with him again. We were able to hand out our, handy dandy bottle openers, and one Ohio rep chased me down to get his own. So we're making friends. We got to hang out. We got to see what is kind of coming down on model legislation. And again, ALEC is a nonpartisan group focused on limited government, federalism, and free markets. So things that I've always loved, as a lifelong conservative myself. So happy to be there and kind of representing the industry and veteran voices on workforce and energy security topics. And then the last week, we were in Boston for the Conservative Energy Network Summit, which was fantastic. That one of our board advisors, John Zoka, West Point grad, North Carolina former legislator, has just been doing a fantastic job leading that organization. Got to meet with one of the senior executives from the DOE at Fenway, although I missed the Grand Slam because I was trying to find my seat. But just a great game, great people, fantastic event. Couldn't say enough about it. We had a great happy hour there with our Boston chapter. I forgot how many people were still left in our Boston chapter after the workforce for offshore had just been eviscerated over the past year and a half. But we got to get that one going again. That was such a great time seeing everybody. Also coming up, we'll be talking more about once it's secure, but we're in talks to, with the philanthropic support, to start really bringing a lot of the stuff we've been doing in Texas with the tour, with a new legislative roundtable series I'll talk about. Just a lot of the networking and all the activities that we've been doing, like we're doing now in Iowa with Steve Lucan, who I guess I haven't gotten to that slide yet either. He's our new director up there. We're looking at basically 10 states. We've gotten a little bit of funding for North Carolina. We'll have a little bit less function, but we're really looking at getting regional leads in Texas to also cover Louisiana, and Oklahoma to also cover Kansas, in Iowa, like Steve, to also cover Indiana, and Ohio to also cover Pennsylvania, and then in Virginia that would also dabble a little bit in North Carolina. The idea is we get some folks like Steve with his bio, and I'll talk more about that, but then we bring in somebody who can just run around to all the VSO events, to all the civic engagement events, to the resource fairs, to the county fairs, to the project site tours, to all that, and just really bring folks together across the veterans that work in energy and those that live inside of energy project communities. And so that's really the big push. So, start sharpening your resume if that sounds interesting. And we'll be putting that out as that kind of firms up. And, those are the target states. Maybe we end up doing more. Maybe we end up doing less. I don't write the check. I just spend the money. All right, and now we're launching a monthly legislative roundtable series in Austin, Texas, called Energy Security is National Security. So our usual tagline. But we're going to be doing a series of lunch and learns in the state building, open to legislators and staff. I'd like to have a few of our members to kind of share their stories. So if you're interested and you're in the Austin area, don't make a special trip, but we'd love to have you come and sit at the table. So reach out to me if you're interested. Now, we'll be talking about transmission, and we'll have the great partners that we have with Converge Strategies coming out to present a new white paper that they've done on base power and transmission. Then we'll be talking more about base power next month, critical supply chains and how they they're influencing and impacting force projection and also energy issues in the state. We'll talk about cybersecurity in November. And then in December, we will go back to our roots and talk about veteran workforce development in the state before the session kicks off to kind of re-anchor. And that's a model that we want to start replicating in other states as well. So we're looking forward to be able to do that in other places, as I've met members of ALEC and other places where they like this idea of like common sense, pragmatic energy security approach to energy conversations. And so we're getting a lot of opportunities to do more work, and hopefully we soon have the staffing to support that, because I can't be on the road that much again. Okay, so let's talk about last month. We'll go through the next 90 days, and then we'll talk about how we're doing our metrics and next steps. Okay, our social impressions crashed last month because we forgot to post things because we were on the road most of the time. So that's on me. The June and July numbers are not great just because we weren't boosting anything and we weren't posting. So we kind of went dark a little bit. Sorry, that's on me. Here's an example. In June, we were looking at like 4,000 social impressions on like one post where we were talking about Crest working with us. And then we were able to do a small boost on something with Brian Chen, where he's talking about the de facto moratorium from the Department of War on wind projects being permitted, and that was 31,000. So, we're able to get up a lot more, and our numbers started to rise last month as I realized, we haven't been posting or boosting. And you can't boost what you haven't posted. So, live and learn. Really excited to get Jim Sardonia on there. He was the recipient of the Clean Power Power Vets Award at Clean Power this year. That was an inaugural award. He works at Exus Renewables. And then Max and Wyatt over at SitReps. So if you're not following SitReps on Instagram or LinkedIn, just hilarious content for veterans, working in any industry. But they just kind of call it like they see it, and it's hilarious. And they now do a lot of workforce placement at the executive level, FP&A, C-suite for opcos with private equity and VCs. And now we're trying to open their reach and access and community of really great folks and talent into the energy industry. So we're excited to be able to profile them here and then help them connect with folks. And even the morning that we posted the podcast, had somebody reach out citing that they had heard it and wanting to hire, a new general manager for their wind services company. So, a lot of great opportunities with partners like that. So I said I was going to talk about Steve. Steve Lucan is our new state director for Iowa. Fantastic Navy vet, served 10 years with the GOP in the State House as a representative. And then, got called in by the governor and served as the Department of Veteran Affairs director for Iowa and did some energy policy work with one of the regulated utilities in the state. So fantastic guy. If you're in Iowa or in the Midwest, you have to meet Steve. Steven at projectvanguard.com. Just a great dude. You're going to love hanging out with him. I think we'll get this out before the Iowa State Fair. We'll be at the Iowa State Fair. Steve will be at the Iowa State Fair. I'm hopefully not traveling as much. And then we can talk about the ACP Clean Power Award. So, Lourdes was a finalist for the Empower Her Award. Brittany Jones was a finalist for the Clean Power and Color Award, both of which are community leaders with us. For the Power Vets Award, Jim Sardonia, I mentioned before, won that award. And I was like, how do I not know all these finalists? So it's great to see that the community is really big and growing. And so make sure to check out his podcast episode when you get a chance. We've had a lot of activities going on, happy hours in Austin. We had the Clean Tech Leader Roundtable during ACP in Houston at the Petroleum Club, where we also got to hear from Dan Sugar with Next Power. In the bottom left, you got the North Carolina Legislative Day with our guys there. Some of the still frame of the RW Veteran Summit, where Larry's like, "What are you about to ask me?" I can see it in his face already. Oh, we did get one picture at the happy hour. Man, it was a blur. I forgot. We had the Permian Power Conference out in West Texas that Cress and Brad were at. Just a great turnout for a lot of different things. I don't know why we don't have anybody in the picture for the RE Plus storage. Maybe nobody was around to take pictures. I think it was Nick was at that one. And then with some of my OG buddies over at Combined Arms at the ALEC Task Force, just taking a photo as all the legislators were signing on to some model legislation that they've been promoting. And if you don't know about Combined Arms, you can go to combinedarms.us. Fantastic group. They really started to take off after they got rid of me as their COO and have never looked back or regretted that decision. Fantastic guys. Can't say enough good things about them. If you do need swag, you can go on to the store. I didn't realize we left that one in there. Here are just a set of the companies and jobs that have been posted inside Slack. So, make sure, if you know somebody who's looking, go into Slack. And again, if you have influence or insight on roles, don't just post your careers page. Post something that you can have a conversation about and make a difference if somebody has applied or wants to apply. Whether you can talk them out of it because that's not a good fit for their resume or what they really want to do, or you're able to go to a hiring manager, tap them on the shoulder, and make sure somebody gets a screening call. Like I always say, we don't get people jobs, we get people screening calls. Once they get that call, now it's up to them. But getting through that AI slop is such a huge win for folks. So if you have roles, post them in there. If you know about something or you know someone who's looking, go in there. And dear Lord, if you get a job through this, tell us. So many of you are getting jobs and I find out months later. We just want to tell your story so other people can replicate what you've done. So lower the ladder after you've done it and help us make it better too. If there's a way that we can make this more efficient. We're going to get back to recruiting for our 2027 fellows pretty soon here. So love every single person on here, and we're always taking new folks. We just added Vanessa Martinez, so we need to add her on here from Nordex in South Texas. Just a great group of folks that we're always pushing to try and platform them as messengers for this industry. Okay, we did the Conservative Energy Happy Hour already. We do have an event in New York City during Climate Week. So if you're interested in that, we should have that stuff floating around. And then Ginger and Steve are running point on that. So reach out to them. I think I got the wrong date for the DNV Veterans Summit. That was going to be online with some other ERGs. So I got to circle back on that. I'm pretty sure I screwed something up. And then I think it was last week. So we already just did the West Texas Legislative Summit. So that was in August. Forgot about that. Okay. So if you look, the social numbers look right where we had a down month or two because we're just not posting anything, which sucks. And then we were doing a lot of stuff in June. So we had just a ton of new signups for membership. Dipped in July as we were just at a lot of conferences, but we're still looking to keep driving a lot of these members further up that ladder of engagement as advocates and community leaders. And I think that's going to ramp up in Q4 as we start the campaign to market the 2027 Community Leader Fellowship. You can go find this on the projectvanguard.org website. You can see where everybody is that signed up to volunteer. And really, so just next steps. Let people know about the organization. Get them to sign up. Get them to volunteer. Sometimes people will sign up and think, oh, that's the same as volunteering. When you volunteer, we collect a lot more information so we know where and how to deploy you. But then go to an event. We've got a ton of stuff coming up. For the legislative roundtables that we're going to be doing in Austin, every night before the ones that we have planned, we'll have a happy hour, tentatively at Zilker Brewery every month. So I'll be there. Come out. Let's hang out. Let's build this thing together. So make sure to follow us online. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me personally, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Bye.